Hello, everyone, and welcome to my preview for the March 17th edition of AEW Dynamite. I am, of course, your host, Ms Dynamite herself, Stephanie Chase, and I'm going to be taking you through the already announced matches for this week's show, giving you a little bit of background and maybe even some predictions. Now, last week, we had an absolutely huge edition of Dynamite. It was the post-Revolution Dynamite, and wow, did we get some things wrapped up and some new things starting. We had Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley explaining what went down at Revolution with the bomb that didn't go off. We had Eddie explaining why he covered Jon Moxley. And then we had Don Callis and Kenny Omega kind of taking and not taking the blame. But the major thing we had happen was with the Inner Circle. Yes, we had the Inner Circle War Council. And what did we all think was going to happen? MJF was going to turn on Chris Jericho. Did he? Yes, he did. But not in the way we all expected, because we all were sitting there thinking that MJF wanted to take over the Inner Circle, but no, he was forming his own faction with FTR, Tully Blanchard, Sean Spears, and of course, Wardlow. And this week's Dynamite looks to be another exciting show. It is special St. Patrick's Day Slam edition, and it is headlined by a lights out match between Dr. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. But before we get to Dynamite, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it on social media. And do you love AEW? I'm guessing you do love AEW if you're watching this video. And if so, you can join me live every Friday on this channel for AEW Weekly at 11:30 p.m. UK time. That's not all that's happening on this channel this week, because viewers in the UK, I hope you know that the clocks have changed in the US, which means this week it is a midnight Dynamite. Yes, Dynamite starts at midnight in the UK on Fight TV. And the hour before Dynamite, that's 11 p.m. UK time, I will be having a Steph Patrick's Day pre-show party where I will be joined by the one and the only, my Wrestling Daily co-host and Mr. Talk Sport, Talk Wrestling himself, Alex McCarthy. Yes, we'll be having a pre-show party. There will be drinks. We will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day and running down and previewing the card of Dynamite. So please join me there live on this channel. Send all your comments about Dynamite or, whatever you want. So let's get into this week's Dynamite. And the first match we have announced is Penta versus Cody. Now, a quick little trivia note about this match. Cody holds a victory over Penta in 2017. Yes, the two had a singles match together. They have, of course, been involved in a lot of multi-man matches together, but this was Cody and Penta one-on-one, and it was Cody who picked up the win. Now, both Cody and Penta were in the Face of the Revolution match at Revolution, but neither of them won. Instead, it was Scorpio Sky. But Cody seemed to be pretty injured in that match. He was just coming off a week after having his match with Shaq on Dynamite. So on last week's Dynamite, Cody completely squashed a dark competitor, Seth Gargis. He squashed him in a matter of seconds, just to show that Cody is 100%. But watching that on the Spanish commentary desk was Penta, who after the match called out Cody. He told Cody that if Cody is the Prince of Pro Wrestling, then he is the Lord of Lucha. And he went even further by saying that he would have destroyed Cody's arm in that ladder match so much that Cody would not be able to hold his newborn baby girl. But these two ended up being in a brawl that was pulled apart by officials, but the match was set for this week's Dynamite. I'm very excited for this match. I think this is a really interesting opponent for Cody. I think it's something completely different for Cody. So I'm interested to see how he's going to work this match. Penta, we know, is absolutely amazing. And I think it's going to be an interesting clash of styles. But Cody is such a storyteller in this match that I think he will, bring out his Codiness and tell a really great story of him against someone whose style doesn't necessarily match up with his and someone that he doesn't have that much experience with one-on-one. As for who will win, I'm going for Penta. I am, because Cody, he's coming off the Shaq match. Then he lost the Face of the Revolution ladder match. And I think that if Penta wins, we could maybe continue this feud. After we saw Penta on the mic last week, I think he's a really good talker. And I want to see him and Cody go at it more. So I'm saying Penta victory, but the feud is not over. Next up, we have a massive match. Yes, there's going to be 10 men. We have Jurassic Express, that's Marco Stunt, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy, teaming with Bear County to take on Matt Hardy, Private Party, and the Butcher and the Blade. Matt Hardy is, of course, coming off losing his feud to Hangman Page. He lost the match at Revolution. He lost his Q1 earnings. But last week, Matt Hardy decided to bounce back by signing a new team to his stable, the Butcher and the Blade. And he will be teaming with them this week, along with his first signees, Private Party. Then on the other side, you have Jurassic Express, who are coming off their feud with FTR, and you have Bear County, who were in the Casino Tag Team Battle Royal at Revolution. I'm not really sure how this match will go, but I would like to see Jurassic Express and Bear County pick up the win. I would like to see Matt Hardy. I'm wondering how Private Party are going to get along with the Butcher and the Blade, because they seem so opposites. But now they have to coexist in this stable run by Matt Hardy. And I'm just wondering if Matt Hardy has maybe taken on a bit too much at this minute, because the reason he took on the Butcher and the Blade was because he was coming off a loss. So I'm wondering, was his judgment clouded? Are his teams going to clash? And will that cost them the victory on Dynamite? Then in a huge match, Jon Moxley will be teaming up with his best friend, Eddie Kingston, to take on the Good Brothers. Now, I'm really excited for this match. I love the teaming of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And if that exploding barbed wire death match at Revolution gave us anything, it gave us these two being friends again. And to see them take on the Good Brothers, I think that's a really interesting match. It is so cool to see the Good Brothers actually doing matches on Dynamite with AEW talent. And I think who better to face them than this Moxley Kingston team? I really want to see what Moxley and Kingston can do as a team, and whether this is going to be a longer term storyline for the two of them, because I think that would actually be really great if they started teaming more together, because I eventually want them to break up again and have an even longer feud than they did last year. But I expect this match to be really fun, a total brawl. I expect there to be probably some weapons used, probably some dirty tricks. You might get Don Callis out there, because he, of course, he was very unkind to Eddie Kingston last week on Dynamite. So I'm sure Eddie would love to see him out there so he could potentially get his hands on him. And you also have to wonder about Kenny Omega. It looks like from last week's Dynamite that we could be working towards Christian versus Kenny Omega, which I think would be a very good Dynamite match that could probably draw a huge rating. But what I'd really like to see is an Eddie Kingston, Kenny Omega feud. And who knows, this match could be the one to set it up. Now, before we get on to our main event, there are some other things to note that are going to happen on this week's Dynamite. Jade Cargill is going to be in action for the first time since she teamed with Shaq. That's going to be very interesting to see what Jade is like in, shall we call it a normal match, like just a Dynamite match where she's not teaming with a huge celebrity. But she was so impressive on her debut match that I just can't wait to see her properly in the AEW women's division. I think that she's going to be such a perfect addition to the women's roster, and she's such a good talker. She's so charismatic. I think she's going to end up elevating everyone just by her involvement. We're also going to have Sting speaking, and the other thing you have to wonder about is, are we going to see the Inner Circle, and namely Chris Jericho, because they were laid out on last week's Dynamite, and Jericho was laid out particularly badly. He was bleeding. He took a power bomb from the stage. So I actually don't expect him to be on this week's Dynamite. Maybe a video message, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be selling this one, and it's going to be off TV for at least a week, which is smart. But the person I do expect to see on Dynamite is MJF with the rest of his new stable, FTR, Tully Blanchard, Sean Spears, and Wardlow. And I think we're going to find out maybe what his motivations are, but more importantly, the name of this new faction. And finally, in our main event, we have an unsanctioned lights out match where Dr. Britt Baker takes on Thunder Rosa. This has got to be the biggest women's match in the history of Dynamite. And I can't think of two better people to make history with this match. This is the third unsanctioned lights out match in the company's history. The previous two have involved Kenny Omega. Now, last month, Britt Baker defeated Thunder Rosa by referee's decision. And their feud did not stop at that. We saw on last week's Dynamite at the end of the multi-woman match how much these two really hate each other. And before that, we'd seen some great promo exchanges between the two of them as well. I'm expecting these two to really go all out on this match to make history. They are both great wrestlers. They're so charismatic. They're great talkers. Thunder Rosa, I just think, is the best women's wrestler in the world. I really do. And I'm so excited to see her get this spot. I think the two of them are going to deliver a match that we won't forget. And I also don't think it will be the end of their feud. So their first match together, that was won by Britt Baker. I think this time it's going to be Thunder Rosa who picks up the win. And then they're going to need a rubber match. And I think that might happen. Maybe they'll save that for the next pay-per-view rather than doing it on Dynamite. But I don't think we've seen the end of this feud yet. And I am excited to let it continue for as long as possible. And there you have it. That is my preview for the March 17th edition of AEW Dynamite St. Patrick's Day Slam. And as I said earlier, if you want to have fun, get ready, get in the party mood, celebrate St. Patrick's Day with an Irish person, you can do that live on this channel at 11 p.m. UK time on Wednesday night when me and Alex McCarthy will be having the Steph Patrick's Day Slam Dynamite pre-show party. Until then, thank you for watching and of course, enjoy this week's Dynamite.